Hello, passengers, co-pilots, shotgun callers, blunderbuss bellowers, and midnight riders. Welcome to another episode of Full Moon Empty Road. As always, I'm Jeremy, and I'll be your driver tonight. Hope everybody had a great week, and I hope you're ready for another road trip. Well, another trip at least. We're headed across the pond to Norfolk, England to Blickling Hall. So let's take to the skies. We have work to do. Well, it's our third trip outside of the U.S. here. We'll be there soon, but before we land, if you're listening on YouTube and you haven't already, be sure to hit the like button and help out analytics and help get more people checking out today's location. And feel free after the video to leave a comment and let me know what you think. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I generally try to get an episode uploaded over the weekend and a short story during the week. Anyway, it looks like we're getting ready to land, so come on, let's check out Blickling Hall. Blickling Hall, a Jacobean-style structure sitting on 5,000 acres of parkland near the River Bure. It's located in Norfolk, England, north of Alsham, in the village of Blickling. The mansion was built on the ruins of a Tudor building for Sir Henry Hobart from 1616 and designed by Richard Lyminge. Since 1940, the place has been the property of the National Trust. In the 15th century, Blickling was in the possession of Sir John Fastolf of Castier in Norfolk, who made a fortune in the 100 Years' War and whose coat of arms is still on display there. Later, the property was in possession of the Boleyn family and home to Thomas Boleyn, later Earl of Wiltshire, and his wife Elizabeth between 1499 and 1505. Although the exact birth dates of their children are unknown, historians, including Eric Ives, are confident that all three surviving children were likely born at Blickling: Mary in about 1500, George in about 1504, and Anne in about 1507. A statue and portrait of Anne may be found at Blickling Estate, which carry the inscription, Anne Boleyn Hic Nata, 1507. Which translates to Anne Boleyn, born here, 1507. The House of Blickling, seen today, was built on the ruins of the old Boleyn property in the reign of James I by Sir Henry Hobart, Lord Chief Justice of the Common Pleas and first Baronet, who bought Blickling from Robert Clare in 1616. The architect of Hatfield House, Robert Lyminge, is credited with the design of the current structure. The Lord Chief Justice married Dorothy, the daughter of Sir Robert Bell of Beaupure Hall. That's Outwell and Upwell, Norfolk, Speaker of the House of the Commons, 1572 to 1576. A grand display of heraldic material is present throughout the estate. In 1698, the estate passed down to Sir John Hobart, the 5th Baronet, who was created Earl of Buckinghamshire in 1746. He was responsible for creating and building the Doric Temple in the grounds, as well as extending the park by the purchase of adjacent land. His son, the 2nd Earl, remodeled the hall between 1765 and 1785. Although the estate then passed down to his youngest daughter Caroline, who was married to Lord Suffield, the couple died childless, and it thus devolved to Caroline's nephew William Kerr, the 8th Marquess of Lothian, who remodeled the west front. It thereafter passed down in the Kerr family. During World War II, the house was requisitioned and served as the officers' mess of nearby RAF Alton. After the death of Philip Kerr, 11th Marquess of Lothian, who was also the last private owner of Blickling in December of 1940, the Blickling estate passed into the care of the National Trust as part of his bequest under the terms of the courthouse's scheme. RAF servicemen and women were billeted within the grounds in Nissen huts, whilst officers were housed in the house itself. The adjacent lake was used by RAF service personnel to practice dinghy drills during the Second World War. The National Trust has created the RAF Outland Museum on site in tribute to the RAF pilots and ground crew who served in the Second World War, and this may be visited for no additional fee. At the end of the war, the house was de-requisitioned. The National Trust again lent it to tenants until 1960, when the Trust began work to restore the house to a style reflecting its history. The house and grounds were opened to the public in 1962 and remain open under the name of Blickling Estate. During 2019, the site received 225,624 visitors. In 2015, the National Trust marked the 75th anniversary of Philip Kerr's death with a celebration of his life and times. Work began in October of 2015 to introduce a heat pump system using residual warmth from the lake. A raft of tubes filled with a plant-based glycol would be sunk into the lake and the liquid pumped into the main boiler room for I can't read sometimes. For conversion to a higher temperature to heat the hall and the west wing of the building. The new system would allow the removal of 2 oil tanks and produce an annual savings of more than 225,000 liters of oil and 16,000 pounds. In February 2021, it was reported that the parasitic wasp species Trichogramma evanescens was being deployed to the hall in an attempt to prevent damage to various artworks there, including a tapestry from Catherine the Great, caused by difficulties controlling the common clothes moth. In conjunction with this, chemicals to confuse the moth's mating behavior would also be used. The library at Blickling Estate contains one of the most historically significant collections of manuscripts and books in England. The library's estimated 13,000 to 14,000 volumes span 146 linear feet. The core collection was formed by Sir Richard Ellis, a cousin of the Hobarts of Blickling. The most important manuscript associated with the house is the Blickling Homilies, which is one of the earliest extant examples of English vernacular homiletic writings. The Blickling homilies were first edited and translated in the 19th century by Richard Morris, whose work is still considered definitive. A more recent translation and edition by Richard J. Kelly was widely panned by scholars and critics upon publication. Another important manuscript formerly at Blickling Hall is the Blickling or Lothian Psalter, an 8th century illuminated psalter with Old English glosses, now owned by the Pierpont Morgan Library. The entire collection at Blickling Hall is in the process of being cataloged and put online by John Gandy, who began the project in 2010, but does not expect to finish for several years. Catalog records are available as the project progresses and are accessible through the National Trust website or COPAC. As for hauntings, Blickling Hall has 4 major reported hauntings that are witnessed. You might even say it's an otherworldly family reunion for 3 of the 4 spirits. First of which is Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn is seen each year riding in a ghostly carriage. Dressed all in white, she's headless with her own head sitting in her lap. Not only is Anne headless, the horses pulling her carriage are also headless. Once they reach the halls, the horses and carriage vanish, and Anne is seen heading, pardon the pun there, heading into the hall where she roams until daybreak. This happens each year on the day that she died, which was May 19th of 1536. Another member of the Boleyn family that is seen is Anne's brother, Lord Rochford. Just like Anne, he is also headless. The difference between the two is rather than riding a horse or riding in a carriage, he is seen being dragged by a team of 4 horses. The team of horses have been seen dragging his ghostly body all along the countryside. And to round out the yearly otherworldly reunion, you'll see the ghost of Anne's father, Sir Thomas Boleyn. Once a year, the father of the Boleyn family is tasked with driving his carriage over 12 bridges that lie between Blickling and Wroxham. Not to be outdone by his children, his spirit is also seen holding his severed head under his arm while trying to guide the carriage. Sounds like a hell of a fun time if you ask me. The fourth and final spirit that is said to continue to take up residence within Blickling Hall is that of Sir Henry Hobart. If you recall, Hobart built the Blickling Hall you see today on the ruins of the Boleyn's estate. Hobart participated in a duel in 1698 and subsequently died from the wounds he sustained. People have said they can hear spectral groaning through the halls of Blickling. His final days must have left quite the imprint on the place. And well, that pretty much covers the Blickling Hall and the Headless Boleyns. Sounds like a good title for this episode. Blickling Hall and the Headless Boleyns. Sorry about the dog. He's outside and having a fit. So I just wanted to say thank you all for stopping in today. If you would like, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at FMER Podcast. You can also follow me on Twitter at Full Moon MTRD and TikTok at Full Moon Empty Road. If you would like to reach out to me, you can use either of those places, either of those social medias, or you can drop me a line at fullmoonemptyroad@gmail.com. Also, I noticed earlier this week I show a listener in Mexico listed on Spotify for podcasters. So if you're here today and you're listening to it, thank you so much. Really appreciate the support and hope you enjoy the content. Also, if you're doing like I do, I usually will load up a YouTube video and just listen to it while I'm working or something. If you're doing like I do, take a look at the screen. If you're interested in buying a shirt or a coffee mug, just head over to Bonfire. You can look at the screen right now. I've got the pictures of the different shirts and the different mugs that I offer right now, or the only mug I offer right now. But head over to Bonfire and pick one up if you're interested. If you don't want to buy a shirt, but you'd like to support the podcast, you can also head over to Buy Me a Coffee. And that link and the Bonfire link are both in the About section of the YouTube channel. So you can just head over to the About section, click on that, and it'll take you right there. But I think for the Buy Me a Coffee, I've got them set up for $1 per coffee, something like that. And then, just head on over to one of those places if you want to show some love to the podcast and pick up a shirt or buy me a coffee. Again, thank you everybody for checking out today's episode. And as always, thank you for all the kind words I've been receiving. I think I've said that enough times as it is. Or I guess technically you can never say that enough. But thank you guys, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Now, let's go home.